Welcome to Ms. Taylor's class videos, and today we're going to talk about solving systems of equations using substitution. So real quick, let's remember when we have systems of equations, we have two lines, and so our solution is the point where those two lines meet. Normally we find this graphically, but we are able to do this without a graph just by using our good math skills. Come on. So let's start looking at some examples. So what I'm looking for when I'm looking for substitution is I need one of my two equations to be either y equals or x equals. Once I have it as y equals, I'm going to draw a box around everything that comes after the y equals. And because I know that negative 3x minus 4 equals y, I'm going to go to my next equation and draw a box around that y. And I'm going to substitute or replace that y with what y equals. So I'm going to rewrite my equation, negative 4x plus, and when I hit that box, I'm going to put parentheses, negative 3x plus 4, close my parentheses. Now I'm at the end of the box, and I'm going to write everything else in that equation. So we need to remember that we have an invisible 1 right here in front of that parentheses, so we need to multiply that invisible positive 1. So negative 4x, 1 times negative 3 is going to be negative 3x. 1 times 4 is going to be 4. And then I bring that equals negative 10. So now we look for like terms. So both negative 4x and negative 3x are like terms. So I'm going to go ahead and combine them. So negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7x. And then I'm just going to write down the rest of my equation. And so now we've got an equation that we can solve. So I'm going to draw my line down the middle. What I do to one side, I have to do the other because we always move our constant first. Negative 7x equals negative 14. And then our last step is to divide by the number in front of x. And so x is going to equal 2. So once I have x, I need y. Because remember, our solutions we write as x comma y. So once I find x, I'm not done. I'm going to have to substitute this x plus 2 into that first equation. So I'm going to put a box around the x because that's what my problem equals. So y equals negative 3. When I hit that box, I'm going to put parentheses equals 2 because, again, I would highlight everything after the equal sign, and then I'll write the rest of the equation. So again, now we've got an equation we can solve. Negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And then negative 6 plus 4 is going to get us a negative 2. So our solution, which again is x comma y, and we write it as a point, is going to be 2 comma negative 2. And so that's what we're looking for when we solve these using algebra without a graph, is we're trying to solve for x, then we plug it back in, and we solve for y. All right. So again, the first thing we're looking for is, do I have an equation that says x or y equals? If it says x or y equals, I'm going to put everything after the equal sign in the box. My box is equal to y, so because it's equal to y, I'm going to put a box around the y in the next equation because that is where I'm going to substitute or replace. So now we write our bottom equation, plus 3. Once I hit the box, I put my parentheses. I put everything in the box above in that parentheses, and then I write the rest of the equation. So now we've got a number in front of our parentheses, and so that tells us to distribute, which is a fancy way of saying multiply. So 4x, and then a 3 times 3x is going to be a positive 9x. 3 times a negative 4 is going to be negative 12. And that equals 1. So again, now I need to combine my like terms. So my like terms have the same variable or they don't have a variable at all. So 9 and 4 is 13x minus 12 equals 1. And now we can solve our equation. So I'm going to add 12 to the other side. 13x equals 13. And then my next step is to divide by the coefficient in front of x. And so 13 divided by 13 is 1. So now I have x equals 1, so I'm going to put everything after the equal sign. I'm going to highlight it, and I'm going to plug that back into my first equation, and I'm going to put the number where the x goes. So y equals 3. I hit the box, so in parentheses I put what x equals, minus 4. So y equals 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4. And then 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So our solution, again, x comma y is how we write our solutions, 1 comma negative 1. All right. Yeah, I'm going to find my y equals. I'm going to highlight. I'm going to put a box around everything after y equals. Because my box equals y, I'm going to go put a box around the y in the next equation because that's what I'm going to substitute or replace. So now, 4x plus 2 parentheses 3x plus 1 equals 12. Now I need to distribute or multiply my number outside my parentheses. 4x plus 6x plus 2 equals 12. Now we need to combine our like terms. So 10x plus 2 equals 12. And now I can solve it like normal, move my constant. And then our last step is we want to divide by the coefficient in front of x. And then x equals 1. So I'm going to highlight everything after the equal sign. And then I'm going to plug this back into that first equation. And because x equals 1, I'm going to plug it into the x spot. So y equals 3 parentheses 1 plus 1. Y equals 3 plus 1. And then finally, y equals 4. So our solution is 1 comma 4. All right, so this one's no different. It's instead of y equals, it's x equals, but our procedure and everything that we do is still going to be the same. Y plus 4 is equal to x, so I'm going to go put a box around my x. I'm going to rewrite my equation, negative 4 parentheses, y plus 4 minus 6y equals negative 16. Now we need to distribute or multiply. So negative 4 times 1 is going to be negative 4y. Negative 4 times 4 is a negative 16 minus 6y equals negative 16. I need to combine my like terms. So I get a negative 10y minus 16 equals negative 16. I'm going to add 16 over, add 16 over. I get 0, but we're not done with the problem yet. We've still got to finish out the problem. And then my last step is divide by negative 10. And anything divided by 0 simply is 0. So our y is going to be 0. I'm going to highlight what comes after my equal sign because that's what I need to plug back in here for my y. So x equals 0 plus 4, and so x simply equals 4. So our solution to this problem is going to be 0 or 4 comma 0. All right, I want you to try this one on your own and check it with your class notes. And then for this guy, I want you to open up Desmos. I want you to graph both equations, and Desmos is going to tell you what the solution is. And so I want you to check your solution with the completed class notes.